Hello and welcome to part 4 of the in-depth video tutorial series for Inventory Cog 1.12. In this video, we're going to be covering attachments, renaming, and saving and loading the system. So the first thing that I want to cover here is that I have made some changes since the last video to how attachments work, and I'd like to dive into that real quick. This was mostly just to simplify it and to add in one more layer of items. So what I've done, if we pop into the equip item, you can see we've got two attached slot points for the item. These now have a slot icon. This is what I've added. As well, you no longer have to define the slots at the top. They're now automatically grabbed from the equip object. And since I also wanted to have these items be visible in the preview, what I did was I took the existing preview and deleted it, and then I just duplicated the equip object, which had the slots attached, made that the new preview, and then just positioned that as was needed for the preview. All right, so now that we've gone over those changes, let's dive into how we hook up this UI. Now this UI is going to be shared, so we're going to be throwing these into a shared UI when we create the prefabs. So this is our window, and we have it divided into a few sections. On the left, we have the items icon, and then we will populate this grid with all of the slots that are available on that. And then as a slot is highlighted, this side will populate with any items that are available to fill that slot. So the first thing we'll need, as the name suggests, is an attachments UI. And from here we can put in the title, which will give us the item name as it is when we first grab it. And then here's going to be the item icon. And next it wants this slot list. So we're going to put an attachments list, I believe, on this one. Actually, you know what we're going to do? Sorry. This is just going to be an attachments slot grid. And that's going to want a slot UI prefab, which is what this will become. So that'll be an attachment slot UI. And this is going to be the icon for the slot itself. This will be the icon for the attachment, if there is one. We're not going to do display name, selection indicators, the same one that we've used in a couple other places. So that's already a prefab. And now that creates that finishes off this item. So we'll drag it down to the shared UI. And we're just going to double check. I believe this is a 3x2. Yes. So we will specify the prefab. We're going to put the grid size as 3x2. And we'll do navigation by button. And we're going to hook up a couple of these events as well. So we have two different footers here that show us what we can do based on what's selected. And so when you select an item here and it puts focus over here, this locks its input and then unlocks its input when you're done on the other side. So we're going to use that to tell us what should and should not be visible. So when it's locked, the slot section is going to become invisible, and the attachment section will become visible. And then when it's unlocked, we're going to do that the other way around. So it will be footer slot is visible and attachments is disabled. We're also going to do things by whether or not attachments are already on it. or whether or not they're available. So if the attachments are available, this select attachment will be visible. And if it's not, then we'll hide it. And then we're going to do that same thing for if it already has an attachment or not. We will set the remove attachment based on that. So that's got that all hooked up. We'll need to go back here and drag in, here's the slot list. We still need to populate this other grid as well though. So let's go over to Detachments panel. And for this one, we're going to do an attachments item grid. And this takes a normal item UI prefab. We're going to do something a little different from this, from the other ones that we've done. So we'll do item UI. And actually, is anything different? No, it's not. We really could have just used the same one, but that's okay. So we'll do the item icon and the equipped indicator. Here's that same highlight again. It's the item count. And we'll hide the item count if it's less than 2. And we can get rid of, actually we can get rid of all of these. Those won't be needed on this one. So now that that's done, we can drag that on down to the prefab. And let's just see. So this is, I think this is what, 5 by 3? Yeah. Okay. So 5 by 3. And we'll drag in the grid item. We will lock this to begin with because the first one will have focus when we first start. And that should be enough to see how things look once we get this last one in. So let's do, the slot list needs to know what the attachment list is, so we'll drag that in. And then we will go to each of these 3 interfaces and tell them what the attachments UI is, which we can see is down here in details and attachments. So we'll slide this guy in to here. And into here. And the RPG actually won't use it, so that'll be it for that. Oh, I forgot to close that, that's okay. So we'll just get that error. Okay, so now if we press the modify key, which we previously wired up, and we can just take a look at that real quick. So modify is just, it listens for the E key and then it calls the show attachments UI. So here we can see this guy has 2 different slots. One is the sphere, the other is a square cut, and we can see that it changes the items as well. And we haven't hooked these up yet, so those keys aren't going to do anything. But we can go hook that up now, and we'll be able to see what attachments look like. So we'll bring this up. And we'll have on the key down slot list. and this will be open attachments, and this will be slot list remove attachment, and this will be attachments UI close. This one we don't need because the grid will take care of that, but this one will also do the attachments UI close. So in the attachments panel, actually we don't need to, I don't think we need to hook anything up there. That should just be automatic. Let's close this and we'll hide inventory this time so that we don't get the errors on start. Okay, so select attachment. Now we've switched back and forth. Let's attach the red. So we do need something here. So let's see, what have I forgotten to hook up? The selection. I haven't hooked up the selection. That's why. So hopefully this should work at runtime. Yes, okay. We just need to remember to make that same change on the other side. So we've added two different attachments, and if we close this, we can see now the item name has updated, and the reason for that is each of these attachments have item name modifiers to it. So the red gem sets the item's description in front of, so it becomes the aggressive mythic sword, and the green one sets it after, and it adds of vitality. And we can do, to really show this off, let me go in and modify it again. So and we'll remove the attachment. The purple attachment actually updates the locked slots value. So if I now equip the sword with the purple, we can see that our locked slots have updated. So let's go ahead and make that one change that we missed over here. So the selection mode by key, and that key is F. All right, attachments are all hooked up. Now let's get to the rename. This will be a nice and quick one. So we need a rename prompt, and it's going to give us a couple of options here. So first of all, I'm going to set the rename prompt, and it has this ability to format. And what we're doing is we're going to say rename and then replace name to. And the reason this is all uppercase is that's just we've put the modifier onto the text message pro. So next we're going to supply the prompt and then the OK button and the cancel button. And that's all we need to do. Now the rename prompt, unlike the attachments UI, is universal. It doesn't get set by the grid, it gets set by inventory cogs. So we'll go up to the player and we'll go into the UI, and down here in the renaming prompt, we will drag in rename, and this is going to live here. We could have it spawned like we do other things. This time we're just going to activate it, and this will allow us to modify our names. So let's go in real quick. Of course, again, I forgot to close the screen first. Items can be set as to whether or not they're renameable per item. So you can see this pauldron is renameable, but this one isn't. Neither is the bracelet or backpack, but the sword is. And renaming an item will also remove any name modifiers. So if I add some attachments here, it'll start off as the healing mythic sword of vitality. But if I rename it, to everything is awesome. And the reason I'm doing that, by the way, is you can see that those are keys that are normally monitored. We lock those out while this prompt is open. So I rename it, and now everything is awesome. And the other modifiers aren't shown. So it will still go ahead and give you all of the benefits. It just no longer has the other modifiers because you've custom named it. So now let's take a look, and we don't have to even do anything else, at what saving and loading looks like. So I've got these two buttons here, save inventory, which I'm going to press right now, and then load inventory. And all we're doing is we're calling inventory cog.inventory state save on one, and we give it this file name. And then we're doing .state load on this other one. So let me stop and restart the project so we know that we're starting with a clean slate. And bring the character on down, and I'm going to hit load inventory. And now we can see not only do we have our equipment, we've also got our attachments as well, and our custom naming. Now, if you want to do a custom save and load, if you want to have other data in your file, it's very easy. And I'm going to create a short script to show you that right now. So for this, we're going to need a couple of things. We're going to need using nullsave.talk. And the reason we want this namespace is it's going to give us access to some overload methods, some extensions for the file stream, and then using nullsave.talk.inventory to access the inventory cog. So we'll have, oopsie. The inventory, so we can know what to address here. And then there's a couple of different ways you can do this. If you don't know the size that your data is going to be, simply call the inventory.save first, and then your stuff. Same with load. You'll load inventory cog first, and then your stuff from the stream. If you do know, or if you want to use our tools, there's an easy way. So what we'll do is we'll have a file name as well, string file name, and that'll be inventory.sav, which is what we're using elsewhere. So the easy way to do this, because we already have a save file, is to show that we can using that. So we'll do using file stream, which we need the system.io for, fs equals new file stream, file name, file mode, or actually do it was mode first, my mistake. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll do inventory dot, actually, sorry, we should make this a method too, right? Public void save, public void load. So we'll just pass in the stream here, and that will save that off. And then we're also going to put in, here we'll do public, let's do text area 25. Okay, and then there's a couple of ways you can do it. Of course, you could convert that string over to a byte array and send it out, or you can use our extensions, which will do write string packet. So what this will do is it'll write the length of the string and then the string out so that it can read it back in. Um, extra text. And that's it. Now we've saved. And then we'll do the same thing. And then we'll change the write to a read. And that'll be it. So let's go back on over to Unity. And at the top on the canvas, we'll do demo save load. We'll drag in the inventory cog. And now we'll update the buttons. Demo save load save. And demo save load load. And let's also close the inventory. So we'll immediately be able to still load the inventory even though we've changed it. Oopsie, oh, right. There we go. Inventory.load, not inventory.save. Okay, so now we'll do load inventory. And this one's going to do, it's doing the overflow because there was nothing there to read. But we can see that it did still load everything. Now if I just hit save again, and now I press load, now we can see that the extra text is there. And if we modify it, heck, let's just copy that out. And now if we hit save, and then load, there we go. So that's it for this demo. The next video is going to be creating the actual physical world. We still do have crafting and merchants to do, but we're going to do that as we start creating items. So I hope that this video has been helpful to you, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks.